To measure height, we're going to have the athlete pop off their shoes and hat, walk up against the wall where we have our tape measure. We'll take a clipboard or some type of hard surface, sliding it down the wall till it touches the top of their head. We'll have the athlete take a deep breath in and all the way out, finding the ideal spot for them to walk away, and then identifying their height afterwards. Next, we're going to do a seated height, where we get them to sit on the ground, scoot their butt right up against the wall as close as they can possibly go, sitting up as tall as they can. Again, we'll slide our clipboard down, touching the top of the head, doing a nice deep breath, all the way out, and then looking to see where our mark is. Once we're done, we can continue on with the rest of testing. On AP strength testing days, we use the force X. Here you can see I'm turning on the left force plate in order to activate the pair through the cable linking the two sides together. You'll know when they're paired when the right side platform's green light turns on. Following this, we then need to make sure that the platforms are balanced. If the left side of the platform wobbles, then we need to adjust the right side counterclockwise in order to shorten, as this is the post that it's rotating on. Continue adjusting until you notice that there's a complete lack of wobble, and it should be stable enough for someone to jump on. However, if the side that has the adjustment is the one that wobbles, we need to adjust it clockwise, as this is the one that is currently not in contact, and by lengthening the post, we can then level it out. Again, keep adjusting until you notice that the platform is flush and ready to jump on. Here we're jumping into the app, where we'll select Test, followed by pairing the force X as it shows up. For many of the AP athletes finishing their on-ramps, this will be the first time that they've done their testing, so you will add their first and last name, date of birth, gender, and if they're old enough that they want photo and video recording, then that is something that's optional. After doing all of this, you can select the category in order to place the athlete amongst their peers. Once an athlete has been placed in their group, remember this is when you would typically save the profile, but in this particular case, because it's a demo, we'll move on. After pairing the force plates and entering our athlete profile, we can select our athlete. Noted by the left side, we can see that that athlete has been selected. Then we will move forwards and select our test type. Under test type, there will be a selection of different tests that we can choose from. In this particular case, we'll do single leg stand. Make sure the athlete is standing off to the side when you hit start, as this will begin the zeroing process, and we don't want there to be any conflicts with their weight on the platform, creating calibration issues. Once the athlete is prepared, have them step their right foot into the middle of the platform and hit start. This will give a 3-second warning, after which they will hold a 15-second single leg stance. This test is to be performed twice on the right side and twice on the left side. And throughout the movement, they'll maintain their hands on their hips the entire time. After finishing both right side stances, give a small break and proceed to follow up on the left side. Remembering that hitting start will prompt with a 3-second warning before the 15-second stances. If there are any athletes that are particularly struggling with the balance portion of the testing, remember to instruct them to focus their gaze on one stationary point, as this creates a fixed point of reference for their balance. After the athlete has performed their 2 stances on the right and 2 stances on the left, be sure to go back to the data and ensure that there's no anomalies with the testing that's been done, and if there are, make sure to follow up with additional testing to eliminate any discrepancies. Once you review the data, remember to hit finish and deselect any of the incorrect or anomalous trials as to not harm the data before uploading. Following our single leg stance, we'll move on to our vertical jumps. So again, we pair our force plates, select our athlete, double check that they've been selected on the left side, and then following this up with our particular test type. Now in this case, because we're doing both counter movement and non-counter movement jumps, or squat jumps, we're going to select auto jump. And then we'll have them step on in order to grab their weight. Make sure to obscure the athlete's weight from anyone who might be standing around, as this could be potentially sensitive information. Our first two jumps will be squat jumps, where the athlete will place their hands on their hips, squat down as low as they feel comfortable, hold for 2 seconds before driving up and only up, trying to get as high as they possibly can. If done correctly, the software should auto-detect a squat jump and provide the values. After 2 quality squat jumps have been recorded, we will move on to the counter movement jump. Similar to the squat jump, hands on hips, squatting down as low as they feel comfortable. However, instead of pausing for 2 seconds at the bottom, they will immediately push themselves back up, trying to get as high as they possibly can. Remember to review the data to see if there's any anomalies or improper jumps that need to be redone or removed. Again, this is where you would remove any improper trials by deselecting them as to not harm the data. And once done, hitting upload and then double checking the upload manager to ensure that they have in fact been uploaded. Moving on to the isometric mid-thigh pull, or IMTP, will unfortunately require moving the force decks. As a result of this, we will need to rebalance. So to reiterate, if we have a wobbly left side, we need to turn the adjuster counterclockwise, and if the adjuster side is the one that wobbles, then we have to turn that side clockwise in order to bring the post up or down respectively. Once the force decks have been stabilized, we will then look to set up our rack, which in the case of the IMTP will be a fixed bar placed through the holes on a power rack. Also, we've preemptively placed the center of the force decks in line with the placement of the bar. The bar placement should sit at or below the middle of the thigh at such a height that the knees will bend to approximately 135 to 160 degrees of flexion. Once the appropriate bar height has been found, grab lifting straps and assist the athlete with attaching themselves to the bar as a means of trying to eliminate grip as a point of failure. We want the straps to be tight but not uncomfortable and still able to move around if adjustment is needed. Make sure that the athlete's hand placement is generally outside of their legs, as this will allow them to bring their knees fully into the bar under load. Jumping back into the app just like we did before, we'll pair with the force plates, select our athlete, and select isometric and isometric mid-thigh pull. Once we're ready to test, again we'll zero with the athlete standing off the platform as to not screw up the calibration, and then again cover their weight as this is potentially sensitive information. The isometric mid-thigh pull is typically performed in 2 phases. The first, where you're taking slack out of the bar by pulling approximately 20% of your max strength, and then the next phase is an all-out max effort, pulling as hard as you can for about 3 to 5 seconds. Just like with the jumps, we'll perform 2 to possibly 3 good quality reps, each time trying to do better than our previous score. After completing the isometric mid-thigh pull, the athlete can then release themselves from the bar while you check the data for anomalies or incorrectly performed trials. If everything looks good, you can hit finish, select which trials you want to upload, and double check in the upload manager that they have in fact been uploaded. And that's it for strength testing. Remember to put the force decks back, check the battery level prior to turning them off, and plug them in if they need to be charged. On AP Speed and Agility testing days, we use the Smart Speed system to conduct our testing. We begin by unpacking 7 tripods, extending the bottom 2 portions of the tripod in order to make sure that the weight stays as low as possible to keep the tripod as sturdy as possible. 3 pairs of these tripods will be placed at set distances, 10 meters apart, beginning at 0 meters, 10 meters, and 20 meters. Once the tripods have been placed, we'll attach the lasers to the left side, turning them on, and aiming them towards the opposing tripod. On the opposite tripod, we'll grab a reflector, attach it to the top of the tripod similar to how we did the laser, and ensure that the laser meets the center of the reflector. If done correctly, little if any adjustment is required. However, double check to make sure that they are in fact aligned, As if they're not, a tone will sound indicating they are misaligned. A 7th tripod will be required for the Smart Speed base. You can turn this on using the power button on the bottom right, holding for about a second or two. Once the unit powers up, you can see the battery percentage and begin the pairing process. If all of the lasers have been turned on and aligned prior to turning on the Smart Speed hub, pressing the flash button should indicate that all of the units are connected. Once we're connected to Bluetooth, we can get into the Smart Speed Timing Gate app. Pressing Start Session will show us how many tracks, as well as gates are attached, what drill type we're selecting, what type of drill we're selecting, along with the individual or group of athletes that we'll be testing. Once we're done selecting the athlete of the group, we'll press Manual Select and then Ready the System. It will then require us to set the order of the drill. So in this particular case, we can jog through the 0, 10, and 20 meter gates, which has now indicated the order 1, 2, and 3. While the session starts, we can double check that ECP is on, or Error Correction Profile. Our start type is set to break beam, and our gate distances are set to 10 meters apart. We'll start approximately 1 meter away from the 0 meter mark from a falling start, breaking through the beam as we go through. As you can see here, pressing the set button readies the system by the green lights, and the athlete can begin their run whenever they feel ready. As they run through the last gate, the lights will flash, indicating a successful trial, and after 2 to 3 successful attempts, we can stop, confirm, and view the results. Again, double checking with the cloud icon on the right that it has in fact been uploaded. For the 505 drill, cones of different colors will be placed at the 15 meter mark to indicate left and right turns, as well as the timing gates at the 10 meters. In the Smart Speed app, we're now down to 1 gate and 1 track. Under free timing and the 505 drill, we can then go in and select either our group of athletes or our individual athlete that we'll be testing for the 505. Again, we'll manual select, ready the system, and set the order. In this particular case, because there's only 1 gate, we only have to break the beam once. Then we can hit start. Make sure that the number of events is set down to 1 as opposed to 5, otherwise they'll have to do multiple 505s in a row. Again, pressing set will arm the system. Starting 1 meter behind the starting line, we'll try to run as fast as we can, breaking the beam and turning to the right or the left, with the timer starting once you've broken the beam the first time and stopping once you've broken the beam the second time. It's important to measure both left-hand and right-hand turns, specifically 2 turns per side, in order to understand the asymmetries that might exist within each individual athlete. It's also important for the athletes to run as fast as they possibly can and not try to slow down so they can change direction easier. Once they've completed all 4 of their direction changes, you can finish, view results, and double check the results have been uploaded. Remember to turn off and pack up the equipment, double checking battery percentages before you put everything away, and ensuring that they're getting charged for any future testing. Potential issues that could be experienced with the ForceDecks is that only 1 unit will turn on and doesn't start the other one. When looking at the iPad, it could also be coupled with a message saying that there are no devices found nearby. In this particular case, generally holding the button for longer until you see the light for the left side turn on, and continuing to hold it until you see the light for the right side turn on. Potential form issues that might be experienced when looking at the jumps is the kicking forward of the legs, letting go of the hands from the hips, or tucking of the knees at the peak of the jump. And specific to the squat jump, in particular squatting down but not holding for long enough, or an additional drop at the bottom, can be seen here is misidentified as a counter movement jump. In order for the person to correct their jump, they must go down, hold, and push straight up and only up. When setting up the isometric mid-thigh pull, in certain cases the bar can be placed too high, where even though they have a bend in their knees, when under load they actually straighten their legs, eliminating the leg drive. As evidenced here, we can see the setup seems to have an apparent knee bend, but when more force is applied, there's a straightening of the legs. Using the Smart Speed system, in certain cases we can see here that the session start in the Bluetooth icon indicates that there isn't a connection. Going into the Bluetooth settings and double checking that it is in fact connected will typically fix this issue. Going back to the app, we can see that the start session prompt is now there. In certain cases, we have to actually forget and repair with the device itself, specifically in cases where there's a particularly frustrating lack of connection. Or when in doubt, remember you can always force quit the app or turn the iPad off and on again. In a lot of cases, this will fix a lot of the smaller minor issues and more readily identify if Vault customer service is required to fix the issue.